The movie opens on a stormy night where a man named Tom Cooper sits in his truck outside his ex-wife's home at 4 a.m. He swallows some pills, removes his wedding ring, and steps out of the vehicle carrying a mallet and a can of fuel. With determination, he forces his way into the house, brutally killing his ex-wife and her new husband. Afterward, he drenches the place in gasoline and sets it ablaze before calmly driving away as the house erupts in flames. Meanwhile, we meet Rachel, a recently divorced woman who is abruptly awakened by a call from her lawyer, Andy. He informs her that her ex-husband is attempting to take ownership of her house, so they arrange to discuss it over lunch. Realizing she forgot to set her alarm, Rachel scrambles to get ready, much to the disappointment of her son, Kyle, who is already prepared for school. In the dining room, Rachel's brother Fred is on a video call with her mother, who now lives in an assisted care facility. She seems to be complaining, but Fred is unable to hear her due to a muted microphone, leading him to end the call. Meanwhile, a news report plays in the background, detailing a brutal double homicide that occurred earlier that morning, along with a description of the suspect's gray truck. Fred's fiancée, Mary, joins the family for breakfast as Rachel explains that their mother was moved to the facility after repeatedly getting lost in her neighborhood. Fred admits he has also struggled to navigate the area because of its confusing street layout. With little time to spare, Rachel and Kyle head out for school, exchanging a quick greeting with their neighbor, Rosie, who has just purchased a new minivan. Soon, they hit traffic. Rosie suggests taking the freeway, but Kyle objects, claiming they always end up late when they do. She hands him her phone to check the traffic, and he notices it has no password, which he finds risky. Kyle suggests an alternate route that looks clear. While on the road, Kyle's father calls to cancel their plans due to a busy schedule, but reassures his son that they'll spend time together soon. Shortly after, Rachel gets another call, this time from her top client, Deborah, who abruptly fires her for being late. Frustrated, Rachel finds herself behind a truck that fails to move when the traffic light turns green. After waiting impatiently, she repeatedly honks, but the truck stays put. When the light turns yellow, she speeds past it, still honking. Soon after, traffic slows again, and the same truck pulls up beside her. Behind the wheel is Tom Cooper. He greets Rachel and questions why she didn't use a polite courtesy tab before aggressively honking. Rachel, still irritated, snaps that he was blocking the road. Cooper calmly apologizes but then demands an apology from her in return. When Rachel refuses, he grows menacing, ranting about how people no longer take responsibility for their actions. With a chilling tone, he warns Rachel that he's about to show her what a truly bad day looks like. Terrified, Rachel and Kyle drive away, but Cooper follows them, eventually cutting them off and slamming on his brakes, nearly causing a collision. Desperate to escape, Rachel takes a sudden left turn and Cooper seems to back off, letting them go for now. At school, Kyle asks his mother to be on time when picking him up. After dropping him off, Rachel calls Andy and arranges to meet him at Darrow's restaurant in 20 minutes. Later, she stops for gas and steps inside the station to buy a few items, accidentally leaving her phone in the car. As she shops, she suddenly notices Cooper's truck parked directly behind her vehicle. Alarmed, she considers calling the police, but a cashier suggests that doing so might only escalate the situation. Another customer offers to walk her to her car, and with his help, she safely leaves. Meanwhile, Cooper remains inside, glaring at them with pure hatred. As soon as Rachel drives away, Cooper ruthlessly runs over the man who had helped her, sending him into the path of an oncoming vehicle, which hits him instantly. Horrified, Rachel panics and speeds off, frantically searching for her phone, only to realize it's missing. She soon gets stuck in another traffic jam, giving Cooper the chance to catch up. He begins taunting her by repeatedly ramming her car from behind. Desperate, Rachel tries to get the attention of a woman in a nearby car, but she remains oblivious to the danger. As soon as traffic clears, the chase continues. Cooper overtakes Rachel and, to her shock, waves at her, holding her own phone. It becomes clear that he had taken it while she was inside the gas station. Terrified, she makes a quick turn into a parking lot, hoping to escape him. Meanwhile, at Darrow's restaurant, Andy patiently waits for Rachel. Suddenly, Cooper arrives, introducing himself as a friend of hers. Engaging Andy in a casual conversation, he eventually offers to call Rachel on his behalf. At this moment, it's revealed that Cooper had swapped their phones at the gas station. Using Andy's phone, he dials his own number, causing Rachel's phone to ring in her car. When Rachel picks up, Andy mentions that he is sitting with her friend Tom Cooper. Before she can warn him, Cooper seizes Andy's phone and repeats his demand. He wants Rachel to apologize and fully understand what a terrible day really looks like. Desperate, Rachel blurts out an apology, but Cooper isn't satisfied, insisting that she doesn't mean it. Without warning, Cooper smashes Andy in the face with a coffee mug, breaking his nose. The restaurant patrons look on in shock, but Cooper remains unfazed. He rants about how divorce lawyers exploit their clients, claiming they destroy good people's lives yet never face consequences. Despite being recorded, he mercilessly beats Andy before stabbing him with a table knife. Calmly, he informs Rachel that Andy is dead before hanging up and leaving the restaurant. While driving, Cooper calls Rachel again. This time, he gives her an ultimatum. She must choose the next person to die. If she refuses, he will go after Kyle or her mother. Terrified, Rachel begs him to kill her instead, but Cooper refuses, insisting that his goal is to teach her a lesson about saying sorry. With no other option, she names Deborah, the client who had just fired her. Thinking quickly, Rachel dials 911 to report the threat, hoping authorities can move Deborah before Cooper reaches her. Back at home, Fred is watching the news when he notices a report about Cooper. Alarmed, he calls for Mary, but when she doesn't respond, he goes to check on her. Spotting Cooper's truck parked outside, he grabs a knife and cautiously enters the room, only to find Cooper holding a severely injured Mary. Fred pleads for her life, but Cooper suddenly throws Mary toward him. In the chaos, Fred accidentally stabs her while trying to catch her. Meanwhile, Rachel arrives at Kyle's school, but before she can pick him up, Cooper calls again. He's tracking her and orders her to take Kyle and drive as far away as possible. If she fails, Fred will die. Rachel hastily collects Kyle, and they leave in a rush. Fortunately, a police officer arrives at Rachel's house just in time to confront Cooper. However, before he can be stopped, Cooper sets Fred on fire. The officer manages to shoot Cooper in the shoulder, but he still escapes. Soon after, Rachel receives another chilling call from Cooper. He coldly informs her that Fred is dead and Kyle is next. This time, rather than panicking, Rachel steals herself and smashes the phone in anger. Determined to put an end to the nightmare, she and Kyle get back into their car, heading straight for the police station. On the way, Kyle suggests calling his dad using Rachel's tablet, but she suspects Cooper has taken that too. Kyle suspects that Cooper might be tracking them using the tablet. After a quick search, he finds it taped under Rachel's seat. Using the Find My Device app, he locates Rachel's phone and is startled to discover that it's right next to them. Yet they don't see Cooper's truck anywhere. Rachel then notices Rosie's minivan up ahead and realizes that Cooper must be the one driving it. Spotting a police car further down the road, she quickly overtakes the minivan, trying to reach the officer for help. However, Cooper rams into the police car from behind, causing the officer to lose control. A massive truck collides with the police vehicle, triggering a multi-car pileup. Rachel urges Kyle to call 911, but emergency services are already overwhelmed handling the accident, leaving them on their own. Thinking fast, she decides to head toward her mother's old neighborhood, hoping its confusing streets will help them lose Cooper. Upon arriving, she makes a sharp right turn, forcing Cooper to slow down in order to follow, giving her just enough time to get away. She races to her mother's house, where Kyle immediately runs inside and sets a silent alarm before heading upstairs. He climbs through a hidden panel in the wardrobe, using it as a hiding spot. Meanwhile, Rachel searches for the scissors she had grabbed earlier at home. As Cooper approaches in Rosie's stolen van, he pauses to take more pills. Seizing the moment, Rachel accelerates another vehicle straight into his truck, ramming it. But before she can react, Cooper suddenly appears behind her, knocking her down before heading inside to find Kyle. Posing as a police officer, he calls out, trying to lure the boy out of hiding. Kyle stays silent, but when he accidentally knocks over some metal, the noise gives away his location. Rachel reaches him just in time, but before she can help, Cooper grabs her, hitting her again. With Rachel incapacitated on the bed, he turns his attention back to Kyle, wrapping a wire around his neck in an attempt to strangle him. Desperate, Rachel finally grabs the scissors and stabs Cooper in the eye. Even with the injury, he refuses to go down, until she kicks the scissors deeper into his head, delivering the final blow. Soon after, the police arrive with unexpected news. Fred is alive, having miraculously survived the attack. Relieved, Rachel and Kyle leave to see him. As they drive, another car nearly cuts them off. This time, instead of reacting angrily, Rachel chooses to let it go. Kyle nods in agreement, acknowledging that it was the right choice.